In my expedition series, I didn't want to just say, do this, do that, make this thing, and you're done. I wanted to talk more about why, the decision-making, and the factors that go into it, rather than just copying me. Unfortunately, with Rog, it's very difficult to cover all situations, and in terms of Rog himself, what you want to buy is going to depend on the meta. Right now, things like Omniscience is very popular. Crystallized Omniscience relies on attributes, so items with attributes are very good. On the other hand, if we were in a caster meta, where a lot of people are using spellcaster builds, +1 gems can roll on shields, so they'd be in higher demand, and so on and so forth. If we were in a melee meta, you'd want to prioritize weapons far more heavily than I do in this video. Instead, in the current meta, a lot of casters who use shields are using Aegis Aurora. A lot of builds are using bows, and Omniscience is very popular. So catering to non-shield casters, catering to things like Omniscience, and catering to bows are all going to be priorities. Spell Suppression is also very popular right now, which is why I prioritized Dex bases for Spell Suppression rather than Int or Strength bases. There's also some items that are far easier to roll with Rog than others. A weapon's going to be difficult to roll. Something like a ring, or even a quiver, is relatively easy, which is why I tend to prioritize things like boots and rings over other choices, since those are the easiest to roll. Now finally, prices will change all the time, but right now, Rog artifacts have very little monetary value, so feel free to use them and feel free to gamble on this might be a good thing, as long as you're not actively damaging value already stored in an item. Also, be pretty liberal with his rerolls. Last I checked, scrap metal was almost impossible to sell anyway, so you'll have no problem buying more if you burn through your entire supply. But with that, here's my thought process crafting various items. Hopefully you can learn from what I've done and see why I'm talking about what I am, what I'm applying, and what I might plan to do with the item afterwards. So a jewel automatically caught my attention. Looking through, there's nothing else that really stands out. This is fizz damage, which is nice, but the rest just isn't quite there. Because you have to think about what could be added to. So crit multi with Ellie skills is already good. Mind damage is already good. Attack speed is bad. I'm going to take a bigger gamble and skip. And then I will reroll prefixes. Crit multi with cold and elemental and cold damage. See, that was a very good gamble. Now add a prefix, or add a suffix modifier. Yes, I will. Increased projectile damage. I'm going to skip for reroll. In fact, is there anything I really want? No, I don't think there is. I'll see what options come up, but I definitely don't want to reroll suffixes when I've double crit multi, double damage. I don't know how many people are currently using Freezing Pulse, but I know some are. And reroll suffixes, reroll prefixes, nope, we're going to take that. That is worth too much to just roll over. It's not a perfect item, but we were able to use rerolls to get mods that synergized. Crit multi for elemental skills, crit multi for cold skills, cold damage, all those really easily go together. There are cold projectiles, such as Frostbolt, such as Freezing Pulse, things that people use, maybe even Ice Spear. Ice Spear is a perfect example. People play that as cast on crit. And so someone will want this jewel. We did not want to roll over it. We didn't want to risk making it worse, even if it would have been worth a lot more had we hit a third crit multi. Going to use another reroll. Remember, you can always use more scrap metal. It's really not expensive. You're looking for good bases. And this is a pretty good base. The suffixes are already very strong. The prefixes need work. Life regen is not something someone will go out of their way for, but quite valuable. 6% move speed is good. Spell suppression is pretty good. And cold res is, of course, res. So let's see. Remove 2 modifiers with the lowest levels. I don't want to remove the spell suppression, so we'll skip right off the bat. I will reroll prefixes because overall we don't have good prefixes, and also I definitely needed to. Now upgrade to its highest tier. I want this to hit either the life or the spell suppression. That's the big money here. And we hit the life. Big money. Cool. Now I can add a prefix modifier very safely. Reroll suffixes. See, as it is, the suffixes aren't that great, but they have a lot of potential. So my choice is either A, skip and hope I get the option to upgrade suffixes, or B, gamble, potentially destroying the value of the suffixes, but potentially getting something amazing. I'm going to take the gamble here because I don't see these suffixes actually selling very well, and I don't think the odds of hitting enough upgrades to make the spell suppression T1 is really in my favor. So reroll, And I got max lightning, max cold, and max chaos. I don't know what someone's going to buy, but that feels like an improvement. So I will upgrade and apply an incubator. Reroll suffixes. Do we gamble big again? Well, the problem here is the max chaos is only tier 3. The max lightning is pretty good, but cold would be a lot more valuable with a lot of the setups people are running, or fire would be even more valuable. So I will take the gamble, I will reroll, and I'll see what we get. I got max cold and accuracy rating, which overall I would say is a good bit more valuable. The accuracy is a low tier, but who knows? Now a single upgrade could add quite a bit more. I'm not going to reroll the prefixes. And finally, do I take the last gamble? Yes, I do, because I'm still not super happy with these. So upgrade and take. And I ended up with 3% lightning, higher tier accuracy, 1% fire. Is this shield super valuable? No, probably not, but it's something that I could see someone using. The reason I kept gambling was I wasn't super invested in those suffixes. I was happy with a tier 1 life prefix. Everything else, I was just hoping for something good. If you were feeling really spicy and if it didn't end up pricing out well, you could also easily annul this, as you have a 50% chance to improve it, hitting either the low tier fire res, the evasion rating, or the fizz to melee attackers, and a 50% chance to completely brick the item. These gloves, though, evasion bases are quite good, especially with Eldritch implicits. Might as well set the quality. Add a prefix, sure, it's only got 1, and I hit T2 life, so that's a good start. That means the prefixes are at least acceptable and at least sellable. I don't need to improve those. Let's see if we can get spell suppression on the suffixes, though. And there we go, spell suppression, dexterity, accuracy. This is really good. This is almost everything that an omniscience build would want. So I'm very happy with this. I'm not going to add a prefix modifier here just because there's a lot of value in being able to craft a prefix. Now this could brick my crafting state, but I'll deal with the consequences down the line. And it didn't. I'm not going to reroll prefixes. I could get 1 tier higher of life. I could get life and hybrid, but that's too big of a risk for an item that's already potentially sellable. I don't know at this point in the league how much it will sell for, but it's something that I could feasibly see someone using. So again, skip, add prefix modifier, skip. I'm just going to take the item as is and see what it's worth. Let's check out this ring. Damage recouped as life, not necessarily ideal on an ES base. T1 light res is good. Intelligence is okay. Because the T1 light res is the only good suffix here, I'm going to take the gamble of rerolling. And I got accuracy, which can be good. Mana regen, which can be good, but generally doesn't go well with accuracy. And strength, which can be good, goes with accuracy, does not go with mana regen. I'll remove all prefixes and just kind of go with a clean slate. I could remove these and keep T1 accuracy, which I might as well do. We're early in the crafting process, and I don't have high hopes for this item. Random quality, elemental damage. Well, I'm not going to just scour the item. Upgrade, added int, that's very good. Strength, that's incredibly good. And now I'm sad about the base of this item, because this item has turned into everything that an omniscience build would want, except for the maximum energy shield as a prefix. So this item is absolutely amazing. It's T1 accuracy, T1 intelligence, T1 strength. This is why, if you're not invested in the item, if you don't think it will sell for a lot, you should absolutely take those gambles and wipe away some suffixes that aren't adding value. Unfortunately, because it's on a Moonstone ring, this is not going to be worth nearly as much as it would be otherwise. So I'm going to reroll the values, and I'll add a prefix modifier. I can't really think of anything that would ruin it, because even if it had added something absolutely god-awful like it did, I can always do suffixes cannot be changed and fix the item later. A lot of the weapons, I'm really hesitant to gamble, because even though you can get +1 gems, it's really not that common. This I'm going to take, though, because even though it's a weird base, and even though it doesn't necessarily seem that good, flasks applied to you have increased effect is a pretty rare modifier, and flask charges gained is also valuable. So this is an example of something where it might not look good, but it's something someone could value. I'm going to be a little more conservative with it, though, and not remove these modifiers. I'll add a random quality. Reroll suffixes. See, I could do this. It's a gamble, but tier 5 flask charges gained is not very useful, so I think it's a gamble worth taking because it rerolls 6 times. And I got much better suffixes now, so I feel better about this. I'll upgrade Chaos Res. That's really good. I don't want to add a prefix modifier here. I can't think of a prefix modifier that increases the value. The choice here would be, do I want to risk bricking the item with the next crafting step? And I think I do. But not today. Today we get an upgrade, which hit 2 pretty useful mods. I think I would have preferred Life and Chaos Res. Again, I'll skip, and I don't want to reroll this. So this is what I meant by potentially bricking at a crafting step. I can't hit the upgrade without destroying value that I've already gone out of my way to preserve. So my options are take a risky gamble that's probably bad, or just take the item and accept it as is, which is what I'm going to do. Not a great selection. When it comes to rings though, Unset is absolutely the best base with the highest value because of a +2 to level of socketed gems, or plus a level of socketed gems. You want it to be 3. Let's see if we can get it there. There we go. So now I can't reroll the prefixes and I can't remove the prefixes, but I could remove the lowest modifier. The suffixes are junk, but let's see if we can work on that a little bit. Upgrade the level of a modifier, sure. Reroll, oh no, remove all suffixes. That's a risk I'm willing to take, because I could potentially do prefixes can't be changed if I get good prefixes otherwise. It also lets me add suffixes just like that. Remove the 2 lowest modifier levels, absolutely. And now I'm in a really good spot. I've isolated +3 to socketed gems, and I've gotten the plus fire res, which is generic and useful. It's not amazing, but certainly worth increasing the value of the item. Hopefully this next suffix will do the same. Recouped his life, not super amazing, but again, I do think that increases the value of the item. Add a prefix modifier, definitely. There's 2 open ones. There's no point in just leaving it. Evasion, not a good hit. And finally, I'll add a suffix modifier and see what I get. Low tier lightning res. This isn't an amazing item, but given the rarity of +3 to level of socketed gems, you can absolutely craft life on this and sell it for decent value. Amethyst rings have been a very popular base recently, so it's always worth rolling them when you get them. I'm also looking for things like shields with spell suppression, as those can be quite good, weapons with plus gems, or other interesting rolls, and sometimes other shields, though shields are a little bit hit or miss. So let's see if these boots become anything good. I want dex, I want spell suppression, I want res, I ideally want move speed and life, but either one will do. So life regen's good, lightning res is okay. Might as well fill empty modifiers, tier 8, not very good. So let's try again. Suppress is good, chaos res is very good, rarity, not so good. But if the prefixes are solid, it'll absolutely sell. I got life. I didn't get anything too good though, because I need an open prefix now. Remove the 2 modifier values. This is a risk. It might make the item worse, might open things up to make it better. So big money, last gamble. And that is why you take those big gambles sometimes. I've objectively improved the item. It's T1 life, T2 spell suppression, chaos res. I can craft move speed. Someone's going to buy that. Let's see if we can do the same with the gloves. They are 85, so T1 spell suppression is on the table. Upgrade the level. Add a suffix modifier. Dex is very good. Add a suffix modifier again. Spell suppression, really good. Big money. Let's go for number 3. Sadly, number 3 is junk. I can remove modifiers with a low level. I was really hoping to hit that life regen, but I'll take it. Crafted life is still probably good enough on an item like this. I definitely don't want to reroll, and the lightning damage to attacks doesn't actually hurt it. If anything, it could help it, as someone playing an omniscience build will scale the dex, they'll want the spell suppression, and the lightning damage to attacks is relevant. So overall, the item's in a pretty good spot. Another quiver. Sure, I'll remove the 2 modifiers, because the other 2 are actually okay. I'll add a prefix. That's good. I'll upgrade. All right, that's really good. T1 accuracy, definitely not going to reroll that, but I will add another one. And at this point, it doesn't have +1 proj, but it's a damn good quiver. Max life is something that a lot of people will value. Cold damage, something that people will value. Dex, something that people will value. Accuracy, something that's important to omniscience builds because they lose accuracy from dex. Crit chance, not necessarily good, but not bad either. So I'll add an incubator, but I'll be extremely conservative in what I do from here. I'll definitely add a prefix modifier though. The odds of getting a higher tier damage roll far outweighs getting a junk mod that doesn't help the value. I got Fizz tier 7, so that's not very good, but I'm still pretty comfortable in my choices. Terror Claws are pretty good base, but you need good rolls before someone's going to buy it. Oftentimes, there are items that look like they could be good, and they're just memes. This, though, could actually genuinely be good. Chance to Avoid is a good start, spell damage is a good start, crit to spells is somewhat valuable, and all Elirez isn't bad but could easily be removed. So upgrade level of modifiers, already off to a good start. It hit one good thing. Add a prefix modifier, yes. T1 ES, that's very good. Upgrade wherever possible. Add a prefix. If it hits +1 gems, I win. If it hits anything else, it makes the item significantly worse. I'm going to take the risk of skipping. I'll reroll modifier values. I will not reroll prefixes. And now I have to either add a prefix or just take the item as is. And I think that at this point in the league, the item probably won't sell very well as is. If you were early on, week 1, week 2, even week 3, you absolutely take it as is, and you craft ES and you call it good. And just as an example of what that would look like, I'm going to take it here, and I'm going to go over, and I'm going to craft ES, just so you can see how the item changes. We've got 174, and now we've gone up to 271. With a little finagling, you could probably get it closer to 300. And that's why you'd want to take the item early, because 300 ES in combination with crit to spells and Elia Void is very, very respectable. Right now, though, you probably would have wanted to gamble, as you'd need +1 gems or some other differentiating factor, because there's going to be a million of these for sale. So what stands out to me? These Sorcerer Gloves stand out to me. ES bases are a little bit tricky to roll. You'd usually want dense fossils, but we've already got 2 good suffixes, 1 okay suffix, and 1 good prefix. So I think it's worth it in this case. I don't really want to reroll suffixes. I do want to hit upgrade as many times as possible. Especially since right now, upgrade the level of 2 modifiers, well, it's going to upgrade 2 things that I want. Add a prefix modifier, there's no risk here. I can't craft 2 prefixes anyway. It hit fire damage to attacks, which isn't ideal, but isn't terrible. And I can still upgrade. I can skip rerolling. Or no, I can upgrade. I don't want to skip. Skipping's bad. Don't mind me. Reroll modifier values, sure. I don't want to reroll the prefixes. What I'll do is I'll craft ES on this. It's a perfect base. It's got T1, and it's got really nice suffixes, so there's absolutely someone out there who's going to value this as an item. Right now it's just a crafting base, so I don't mind removing. I'll add a prefix. I really just want to keep rolling until I get bases to reroll stat-wise. So now it's not being very cooperative. I do have a half-decent amulet base here. Rerolling the suffixes, I mean, I could. It doesn't really help. I need to fix those god-awful prefixes. But hitting double T1 res has definitely helped. Never mind, I stand corrected. Reroll the prefixes, absolutely. And this is why sometimes hitting reroll a bunch of times can actually end up with a good item. It was garbage going in. Now it's level of all Fizz skill gems. Physical attack damage leached as mana, which might be helpful for something like Shield Crush. Dex and Int, which again is very helpful for something like Shield Crush for meeting attribute requirements, especially for a non-crit version. You can craft life and you can slam a suffix. So this is a very good item and it was well worth it. So if you like this look into my crafting process, then be sure to leave a like on the video. If there's any other crafting processes that you want to know more about, then leave a comment letting me know. For more Path of Exile content, sub to the channel and ring the bell to be notified whenever I upload. Or for more non-Path of Exile content, be sure to sub to my second channel, 10 Gaming Thoughts, where I recently discussed Kena Bridge of Spirits, and I plan to be talking about several other games in the near future. But for now, I want to take some time, and I want to really dive in on how ROG crafting is maybe a little bit different from what you might do otherwise, and give some examples. So the first example is, I was very often choosing reroll prefixes X times over keeping decent prefixes. The reason for this is, I noticed certain patterns emerging as I did this. One example of this is if you reforge suffixes 3, 6, or 10 times, you're very likely to end up with attributes. On the other hand, I'd be very hesitant to do it for bow prefixes, because for example on bow prefixes, you tend to roll flat chaos damage, leech, or plus level of bow gems. Now, early on, getting plus level of bow gems might sell to elemental hit or explosive arrow. It might even sell to toxic rain. But if you're dealing with a flat Ellie bow or a flat fizz bow, doing something like that is very likely to destroy your item rather than add value. On the other hand, on boots, rerolling the prefixes is generally pretty safe, because you're very likely to roll either life or move speed. These sorts of biases are the things that you pick up doing this hundreds if not thousands of times, so I strongly encourage you to buy some ROG logbooks, or maybe call them ROG books. That's definitely not a line you'd ever hear in Scooby-Doo. From there, get all the artifacts, and just spend some time practicing. If you know what the meta is, and you know what's in demand, then go for that. Even if you're only crafting upgrades for your build, that's totally fine. What you want to look at is when you press a button like add a prefix, or reroll an item 10 times choosing the best. What happens? What affixes tend to show up time and time again, and what affixes end up getting lost in the sea of rerolls? Far more so than buying a perfect base, or just getting lucky and upgrading all of your affixes to max level, understanding these rules are what's going to allow you to craft valuable items, be it upgrades or things to sell, both right now during 317 Arch Nemesis, or any time in the future. Another thing that's important is to know about innate properties of bases. So Dex bases can roll spell suppression. This is an innate value where anytime people want spell suppression, you're going to want to roll Dex bases. Unset rings can roll plus level of socketed gems. Anytime people are using auras, which, spoiler alert, is basically always, you're going to want to roll those because they have this innate property that other bases can't roll, therefore they are more valuable. I know this video has been quite long, there have been a lot of examples, and I've kind of had to jump around a bit just by the nature of ROG. And I know I could have focused on here's how you roll boots with ROG, or here's how you roll rings with ROG. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at it from a perspective of someone who might be selling all of their failures, not from SSF or someone who only wants to hyper-focus on one thing. You'll always get the best value by aiming broad rather than aiming specific. The more you limit yourself, the more money you waste, the more time you waste, and the less value you get. So this is again an example where I'd rather give you the tools that you need to make money, and if you're in SSF, you can choose to tailor this more to your needs, than give you bad advice, which might end up with you staying poor because you're wasting items that are perfectly good, and even if they don't have any value to you personally, someone else will buy for chaos or even multiple exalts. I didn't do a price breakdown of the items here. I didn't do a price breakdown of the time. The reason for that is I wanted to focus on the crafting process. But just as a rough example, the footage for this video was originally 2 hours long and I cut it down significantly. And while most of the items from this dataset have not sold as of the release of this video, I've gotten several other items in the past that have sold for anywhere from 20 to 30 C, all the way up to 10 to 15 Exalted Orbs. There's certainly a lot of value to be had with ROG, and you get one of those good bigger items that sells for multiple Exalts easily once an hour, quite often more frequently. But keep in mind, ROG is far more valuable on League Start than he will be 1 or 2 months in. That isn't to say you can't make absolutely disgusting money with him right now, but it is to say that it's a great way to boost your own personal economy early on. And so, the question I have is, what other crafting methods are you curious about? And did you like this example where, rather than demonstrating a specific thing, I just kind of go through stream of consciousness and talk about what I'm doing and why I'm making those decisions, what I'm hoping to hit moment to moment, and what I don't really like about the item. If you found this helpful, then be sure to let me know what you'd also like to see, and if it's both feasible and in demand enough, I'll try to make a video on it. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to put them down in the comments below, or join the Discord, where you can ask questions, get build help, and hang out with the community. A special thanks to my patrons and YouTube channel members. They're awesome, and they get to show it by having their name on screen in the credits of all my videos. So if you want to see your name here, be sure to check the link in the description. For more general gaming content, check out my second channel, 10 Gaming Thoughts, and if you want a water bottle or a cool shirt, I have a link to my official merch shop in the description. I hope you learned something today, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.